1 million people die every year from toxic, counterfeit pharmaceuticals, according to the World Health Organization. Half of them are suffering from malaria. Up to 50% of all drugs in circulation are fake. Developing countries are more affected than developed countries. Pharmaceutical counterfeit drugs are worth $200 billion, the biggest sector worldwide, and it grows at twice the rate of the legal pharmaceutical market. 50% of the drugs for sale on the internet are fake. The pharma distribution chain is highly fragmented, and 30 handovers until the medicine reaches the patient are not uncommon. This undermines our confidence in the healthcare system and provides income to pharma crime networks. Current control measures don't seem good enough. Tera Group is addressing this global problem. Tera Group offers a unique, patented solution. The operator inserts the drug in its packaging into the Tera device. After precise 3D positioning, the drug sample is ready for the scanning process. The non-destructive, non-hazardous scan technology permeates all packaging layers within seconds and generates a unique Tera fingerprint. This fingerprint is checked against the reference in a highly secured cloud database, and an immediate result is produced. Even offline queries are possible.
Every minute, 2 patients die from toxic counterfeit pharmaceuticals and substandard drugs. Our mission is to protect those human lives. We've developed a unique technology that allows fast and easy detection of drugs, even through their packaging. Please support us as partner or investor in our efforts to making the world a safer place. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. When Denise approached us a month ago and she said, we have this summit and it's about oceans, health and consumption, we felt honored that we were asked to join, and I feel very honored to be here as a speaker amongst the other speakers, which I appreciated very much this morning. Welcome to our presentation, our introduction to the authenticity solution that we have. Now, the question that we're asking ourselves, do you know what's inside? When you go to a pharmacy and you buy a product, you know how it looks like. You know it looks okay, the packaging could be okay, but you have no clue what's inside. And when you open the packaging, it probably looks like this, or to the right or to the left. Do you know which one is the right one? I don't think you know. I don't think we know. And that's when we came up with the approach, we need to look inside the packaging. To the pill, 80% worldwide of drugs are being sold in blister packs. And we need to be having the capability to look inside. This question is really important because we are looking at a technology that allows us to do many things. On the one hand, we can detect counterfeits and substandards. Substandards are products that are not living up to the expectation, slightly below, but still being sold. The second one is, as long as you as long as you trust your supply chain, you can be sure that what you buy in the pharmacy is okay, then the situation is clear. When this supply chain becomes shaken, then it is difficult to really trust what you can get from your pharmacist. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry themselves, they have a vital interest because every batch they produce is marginally deviating from the other. And if they have a technology and the possibility to check whether something is right or wrong or off or not quite off, then that would actually help in saving thousands of lives. Because at the end of the day, that's what happens. Those pills get transported to whatever destination and they kill people. This is a picture widely used also by the WHO. It's a poor child dying. The whole issue of pharma counterfeiting was first raised by the WHO in 1985. Not much happened until 1998, when it was the first time discussed at the World Health Assembly in Geneva. Why was it 1998? Because Viagra was introduced in 1998, and all of a sudden everybody was buying drugs via the internet. And it became an issue because the counterfeiters started producing those pills, which didn't do really a lot of good for the patients. The pharmaceutical market, which is counterfeit, that's the biggest market that you can possibly imagine. It's close to $200 billion a year. That's by far bigger than any Lacoste shirt or electronics products that are fake that you buy. That's bad too. But if you buy a fake drug, that really harms you or kills you. You probably have some allergic reactions or nothing happens at all. But worst case, the patient dies. About 10% of all drugs in circulation are fake. That's a statement by the WHO. That's an average number, 10%. We live here in Switzerland, and it's a fairly controlled environment. Probably 1% of drugs are fake here as well. In the industrialized world, we see 1 to 5%. So Spain is more towards 5, Switzerland more towards 1%. You go to Eastern Europe and to Latin America, you're looking at 20 to 30% fakes, and you're going to Africa and you have 50 to 70% fakes. So if you're thinking of your next trip to Nairobi, I would recommend you bring your own drugs with you in case you need them, because going to a local pharmacy is probably not a good idea. You won't get what you're looking for. 50% of the drugs sold on the internet are fake. Again, a statement by the World Health Organization. It started, like I said, 1998, Viagra, but these days it's by far worse, because in the beginning you purchased Viagras or products against baldness. I'm suffering a little bit from that soon. But nowadays, the majority of the products that you actually find fakes on the internet are products that are life-saving products, and not just, I would say, products that make you happier or a little less bald. And that's what is the problem. 53% of those drugs are in this category. And 30% do not contain anything. So they can contain, probably glucose, or they contain rat poison, or they contain chalk, or whatever it is. But from the outside, it all looks okay, but you don't know what's inside. The result of it, 1 million patients die every year because of those counterfeit pharmaceuticals. Here you see a packaging with a nice coat, and that's good. Track and trace is one of the things that the industry does, but those defensive measures against counterfeiting are not good enough. And I give you a little bit of history why. The focus is on packaging. Nobody looks inside. We do. And what is outside? The packaging has, they call it overt and covert technologies, they have chemical markers, track and trace solutions such as deserialization that has just started, or was introduced in February of this year. That's all okay, but it still doesn't provide you with the answer of what's inside. The industry is trying to do something about it. We estimate that about 2% of their turnover is being invested into brand protection and anti-counterfeiting. They hire a lot of people who look at what shipments are going where, gray imports, and the like. So they're trying, but they don't have the right technology at hand to really doing what's necessary. And that leads to that the counterfeit pharmaceutical market is growing at twice the speed than the original, let's say, legal pharmaceutical market. 13% is an immense number. And if you imagine, it started in 1998, and today, 2019, we're being confronted with 200 billion of fake drugs. This number that I gave you in Switzerland, we're all happy to living here. The problem is, if only 1% of those drugs in circulation are fake. In Switzerland alone, 220 million packs are being sold. If you count that down, the equivalent is 6,000 fake packs across the table every day, even in Switzerland. And to me, that's just too much. The supply chain That means from production all the way to the patient until it's administered with a patient is long, fragmented, complicated, really hard to control. A few numbers. Every big pharmaceutical company works with so-called contract manufacturing organizations. Those are companies that they install, they work for them, they produce the products for them. And to be able to control those 100 to 200 companies is a hard thing to do. The second is more than half of the so-called active pharmaceutical ingredient. That means the component inside the pill that is actually helping you cure the disease is outsourced. So they're not even making it themselves, they're giving it to somebody else, but again, that needs to be controlled. A third of all employees in a normal pharmaceutical corporation are working with a quality stamp on their forehead. So just imagine a third of your people having to deal with that everything works fine and in according to, well, specifications and compliance is there. And if you look at the number of people dealing or handling or trading with those drugs versus the ones that are actually making them, it's 1 to 12. So there's 12 times more people trading it. That doesn't make it any easier. And as I've said in the video, handing over pills and packages 30 times is not uncommon. So how do you want to control that? And we've developed a technology that is now able to doing this. This is an example of it's actually a famous example that the WHO also uses. It's Avastin. It's a Roche product against cancer. It's being sold, generates about 7 billion of revenue every year, so it's a fairly massive product. And what you see here is the whitewashing of a Avastin originating in Turkey, ending up with patients in the US. And how do you want to control this? You can't. They don't have the technology, they don't have the capability, they don't probably have the time. And at the end, it's all a lot of paperwork, but still, the products end up in the US and harming US patients. And that's just one of the examples that we say this happens every day. I mean, these 200 billion in volume, that's what should be worrying us a lot. So how can it be that in 2019, today, with all the technology at hand that we have, with all the process control that these pharmaceutical giants are putting into place, with all the people that they hire to control their quality, with all the regulation that the FDA and others are putting in place, serialization, tons of stuff, costs a lot of money, but still 1 million fatal casualties. I think it's just unreal that we're standing there and we're not being able to respond adequately. So there's no effective action, probably because they don't have the right technology at hand to doing this. But that's where we come into the game. Our performance indicators, where do we want to go? What do we want to change? We would like to change a few things. A, we would like to reduce testing time from hours, or probably even days, to seconds. Testing is being done, but just point by point. And you don't want to stop your whole operation in a warehouse until the result is there. What we do, we give you an instant, within seconds analysis, and then the shipment can continue and being released and introduced and sold. Second, we want to reduce the number of casualties, of course. If we are able to reduce and detect those counterfeit drugs, take them out of the supply chain, put them into quarantine, destroy them, that would definitely also be good for the patients, and we would like to reduce those casualties within the next 5 years by 10%. That is the equivalent of about 100,000 people. We, of course, would like to get the pharmaceutical companies on board because we help them fighting something that they're struggling with doing right. And we would like to get the top 10 pharma companies, which probably represent about 60% of the total market, on board, using our technology, integrating them in the process that they use on a daily basis. And of course, we learned that the pharmaceutical companies have not that great of a reputation. There is a rep track that's an indicator that says, okay, those are the most reputable companies and the ones that we think those are good people, those do good. In the US, the first pharmaceutical company, which isn't even a US company, it's Bayer as a German company, comes in the top 100 rank on rank 68. You have other companies like Lego and Rolex, and so those are companies that we think, wow, they're good, they do good. Pharma companies don't have such a good reputation, and we would like to help them get there. So how do we do it? We do an easy 3-step process. We do a scan of the drug, as you've seen in the video. In its packaging, our radiation goes through, it's non-toxic, non-hazardous, it doesn't modify anything with the drug, and we get a spectrum. We then transform the spectrum with our algorithm in a fingerprint, which is an electromagnetic fingerprint, which is then stored in a repository, and every time a pack comes in, is being scanned, and a fingerprint is being created, we then check. And that's the Tera check with a repository, and you get an immediate result, yes or no. Can I use it? Yes or no. And then, of course, we don't slow down the distribution, we don't slow down anybody. Up until today, they probably need to take it apart, take the pill out of the blister, make a powder of, put liquid in, send it to a biolab, and probably a few hours later, they know what they can do with it. With our solution, we can get an instant result. This is the machine that we're working on. It's called the Tera I. We have patented this machine, we've patented the process, so we think it's a good idea to doing this. This, of course, comes together with a software package. And I just would like to outline one thing, what we are able to do. I mean, we call them the USPs. Probably the most interesting is the one to the top right. What we do now, we've done a lot of data crunching and scanning, and we can do 3 things for sure at the moment. We can differentiate between having, let's say, 2 different kind of anti-malaria drugs. They're almost the same. They're the same dosage, but they have a significant or a unique fingerprint. We can differentiate those. We have tested original newly produced versus expired originals versus fakes. And those 3, we got distinct fingerprints. And the last one, we can even differentiate the dosage. If you have the same product, 150 milligram, 300 milligram, 500 milligram, different fingerprints. So basically, it probably looks about like this. I don't want to go too much into technology. That's kind of what the signal that we get when scanning. And then this is being transformed with the algorithm into a fingerprint. And we have tons of those. So basically, that's what we're looking at. We've talked to many companies and also institutions about what we do. And I haven't met one that didn't say, wow, this is really good. You know, this is something that we need to have. We need to be able to doing that. We've talked to pharmaceutical companies, we've talked to Médecins Sans Frontières, the World Health Organization. Alloga is a distributor. They all have distinct needs and requirements. And I think we can, with our solution, address all those different needs quite nicely. How do we go about in the next, I would say, 18 months? 18 months will be at market launch. We have a lab model that we then transform into, we call it an MVP, a minimal viable product. That's basically the last product before you do market launch, a 0 series, and then actually go and make customers happier than they are today. Then we plan, as we said, the first 10 pharmaceutical companies, we try to have them on board within the next 5 years. And that's the plan on how we're going about. What we're looking at the moment for are partners and investors who are joining us on our journey. We would like to make people aware that there is an issue that can be addressed. We have the technology that can do it. And we would like to make a difference to the world, save human lives, and help the community. We're in the process of raising money. We already are financed to a certain part, but we need more because this is a global story that we're building. And with the money that we have so far, we probably can't do it. So we're looking for partners and investors that are thinking as we are. There are some tickets left, so anybody who's interested, of course, is more than happy to talk to us. The team that I have at the moment is the founders team. And we deliberately actually came together as a team with multiple backgrounds. We have a physicist, we have a lawyer, we have an IT specialist, and I've spent my past 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry. So we all know from different angles what the problem is all about. I think meet the team, they're all here. Afterwards, we'll be happy to have any discussion with any of you. If you have any questions or concerns, more than happy. And we'll be there. Now, I think, yes, it's close to 20 minutes. And the video was about 2.5 minutes. So I would say during the past 20 minutes, 20 people died while I was having a talk to you and trying to introduce our solution. It's not something that should be taken lightly. I think we need technology. We need to move forward. And thank you very much for helping us on that journey. Thank you.